The Royal Blue Podcast from the Liverpool Echo.
I'm Ian Croll and I'm joined by Conor O'Neill, and it is the Agenda Podcast, backed by popular demand. You all right, Conor?
Not a lot better after Saturday, put it this way.
Yeah.
A lot better.
Pretty much. Really good result, wasn't it? And not really expected whatsoever.
No, I think we all hoped that we'd get a new manager bounce and we'd show some sort of passion, a bit of fighting, a bit of pride back in the shirt. But what we got was much more, and most importantly, out of all that, we picked up 3 points, which was massive because it shot us right up the table, and results elsewhere kind of going our way. We all of a sudden looking at a much healthier position than what we did on Saturday morning. So yeah, it was massive, and it was a real good day, I think, to be an Evertonian. I think there's not been many of them over the past, not just this season, but the past couple of years. Goodison was kind of back to its fortress best. The fans were right up for it. The players were certainly up for it, and it's been a long time, I think, since Evertonians left Goodison Park with a spring in the step like they probably did on Saturday. And the task now is to make that type of performance the norm, not the exception. And we've got to bottle what we did on Saturday again for Man United on Sunday, and do exactly the same, because like we've all alluded to for long periods now, the fixed list is pretty daunting and pretty looming, and I think ultimately we need to pick points up. Chelsea's a starting block, but we need to pick more points up than just one, and we need to start Sunday with Man United.
Absolutely. Well, as mentioned, it is the Agenda Podcast. You, the fans, send in the questions. You, the fans, set the agenda, and we will answer to the best of our knowledge and to the best of our ability. So we will get right to it. Questions submitted via various social channels. And the first one from Gareth Riley. I'll hit you with a Conor. Gareth asks or says, I understand it was one game, but that was everything. That was Everton. It might not last, but I'd be happy for Ferguson to remain in charge till the end of the season. How do you agree with that, or do you see it differently?
I think he'll probably be in charge for Sunday. I imagine, we're now at Wednesday, and there's no clear signs yet as to who is going to replace Marco Silva on a permanent basis. So one imagines he will be in charge on Sunday, because he's already preparing the team. Like the Echoes, Phil Kirkbride, I think, wrote on Wednesday morning, he's preparing the team for Sunday, so he will be in charge. I think Sunday will be a big indication as to whether Ferguson moves forward, because for as good as Saturday was, and everything kind of come off, football can be a cruel game at times, and if we were to get beat 3-0, 2-0, and we were the kind of the things that of course the haunted over the past couple of years reappear and comes to surface again, then questions will be asked to Duncan Ferguson, that he is the right man. So I think Sunday gives a real indication as to whether he has a chance of being in charge at the end of the season. I think it does buy the board more time to find a suitable candidate, because of Saturday and the fact that we produced such a robust performance that people will think, well, we can trust, this guy can be trusted to take the team. He's got a reaction, everything that we hoped for he achieved the weekend. So it does buy the board more time, but I think Sunday will be a big indication as to whether he has the chance to take on to the end of the season. Obviously, we still don't really know who Everton have got in mind in terms of being the next manager. There's a lot of names being branded about so far, so I think it's Ferguson's for now, but anything moving forward in the long run remains to be seen.
And probably not the ideal time to play United, who seems to have found a little bit of form.
Yeah, it's just typical Everton, isn't it? I think it's I think when you look at United so far this season, you probably would have fancied taking the one. But yeah, we seem to be, we're heading to Old Trafford after they beat Tottenham and Man City back to back. So they do play on Thursday night, obviously in the Europa League, but they will have won back to back league games against two of the better teams. So it is just typical Everton's luck. But look, Everton need to start picking up points wherever they can, because the Premier League's unforgiving. So regardless of who they're playing, there's always a tough game. So, but yeah, it's just unfortunate that Everton are going in at the worst possible time.
Okay, I hope that answers your question, Gareth.
Bradley Rettler asks, does Sigurdsson fit into our best 11?
Interesting one now, isn't it? Because, new manager, new ideas, new tactics, new formation. I think it's probably going to be a whole new start for Gylfi, as it is for the whole team. You would suggest that under Silva, Sigurdsson just didn't fit into that style of play and what Silva wanted to do. But whoever comes in now, is going to have a very capable Gylfi Sigurdsson on their hands, a very good player. So you would have to say, I don't want to sit on the fence with it, but you'd have to say under Silva, no, he didn't fit into our best 11. Absolutely not. We had better midfielders that suited Silva's system, but he played very well against Chelsea, didn't he? As did all of the players that were on there, and that bit of quality that he's got, whether it's a long range effort or a decisive pass, I still think he's got a massive part to play this season. So in terms of fitting into the 11 going forward, I don't think we've got much of a choice. We haven't got that many midfielders. Our best 11 at the moment definitely includes Gylfi Sigurdsson. Next question from Callum Lapsley. Interesting one, this. Does Silva leaving affect Richarlison's relationship with the club?
That is an interesting question, because I think the first 60 minutes on Saturday suggested not, because he scores, done really well, and it looked like the way Ferguson actually had the scene was suiting him more than ever before. If we're being honest, the 4-4 with him up top. But then when he gets hooked with 20 minutes to go, and you see him kind of, I think strolling is probably too kind to him. Snail's pace walk off the pitch, his head down, shoulders kind of sunk as if almost kind of why me type angle. So
purely tactical over it, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it worked a treat, because Tom Davies goes and sets up the third goal with a run into the box. So Ferguson got his tactics spot on. I think that's one of them will remain to be seen. I think you don't know who's going to come in.
Just signed a new deal as well.
But what they're going to be asking for, is it? He signs a new deal, he seems committed to the club. So I think in answer to Callum's question, only time will tell, and a lot of that will depend on who the new man is at the helm.
Okay, next one from Ashley Stewart.
Would you sign Zlatan Ibrahimovic on a free?
Absolutely. Absolutely, yeah. That is it, in short, straight answer, yeah. I think there's a couple of reports doing the rounds yesterday and today that we are linked with them. Whether there's any foundation to that, I've got absolutely.
I mean, we must stress that we are the umpteenth club to be linked with them.
Yeah, absolutely.
In the last couple of weeks,
it goes without saying. Ibrahimovic needs a club. Everton need a striker.
It seems the perfect fit.
Yeah, he's played in the Premier League before. I would definitely sign him, even if it's just till the end of the season. I don't think bringing him in will hinder anything to do with Dominic Calvert-Lewin or Moise Keane's progression and development within the team. If anything, playing with a striker of his quality would only help. And despite his age, he's still, from what I can see, a quality player and will score goals. Absolutely. Okay, thank you for the question, Ashley. Next one is from Keith Sharples. Ferguson showed Moshiri the passion that is needed in the team, but the managers being linked. Will the manager being linked be able to do the same?
In terms of I think this is a tough question, and this is one that I almost feel like you're being unfair on the manager who were linked with the club, because I think we've got to remember that Duncan Ferguson is a club legend. He's idolised by the fans. He idolises the fans back. It's a two-way love relationship.
You're never going to get that with any other manager.
You're never going to get that with anyone else. You know what I mean? I don't think there's many players in football who Everton will recruit over the next umpteen years who will have that connection. I think going back to Dave Prence's piece on Sunday in the Echo, and his line was Duncan Ferguson gets Goodison and Goodison gets Duncan Ferguson. It's a match made in heaven. So I think his passion, his fight on the sides. It was great to see. We all absolutely lapped it up, didn't we, on Saturday? It was great.
Fantastic.
But I think we're being massively unfair on some of the managers who are linked with the role, because they probably won't show that same passion. But that doesn't mean they're a bad manager. It certainly doesn't mean they're not a credible candidate. It just means that they've never experienced Everton like Duncan Ferguson has experienced Everton.
He's been at the club before, hasn't he? He's got a history with the club.
And he's been player, captain, coach, now he's manager. He's done everything. He's been there so long. Yeah. He's past the furniture type thing now. So
Moyes a close second, maybe, with his previous stint.
Possibly, yeah. But even I don't think Moyes has got the same love, and certainly they haven't got the same connection between Moyes and a lot of the fan base. I know even like some of the names I mentioned, like Carlo Ancelotti and Rafa Benitez, they probably wouldn't show that type of passion, but that certainly doesn't mean that you wouldn't have Ancelotti or Benitez in charge of Everton Football Club or Jim, who right now this minute, the two top class managers. So I think that's a bit unfair to suggest that none of them have got the same love and affection and fight for Everton as Duncan Ferguson, because I think it's a comparison that you just simply can't make.
Absolutely.
Stan Frank asks, what characteristics do you look for in a manager to give him hints that they will get Everton?
I think, the past couple of managers, you look for characteristics, and, does it matter whether they get Everton? For me, you could argue for both ways, absolutely. I don't think Ronald Koeman got Everton. I don't think Sam Allardyce really got Everton. And you could even suggest that despite being a fantastic guy and quite loved around the place, Marco Silva didn't quite get Everton. I don't know what the ideal manager is for Everton. The ideal manager is someone who comes in and wins trophies. And, that quite clearly hasn't happened for a very, very long time. I think everyone's going to look at Duncan Ferguson the way he was on the touchline on Saturday and say, that's what I want in my Everton manager. But as we've just alluded to there in the previous question, you're probably not going to get that with, a new manager coming in. You'll get celebrations, I'm sure. You'll get, fantastic comments from whoever comes in, but you're probably not going to get, say, Rafa Benitez running up and down the touchline, just for instance, if it's him, grabbing ball boys, you're just not going to get that. So I think characteristics, I just want someone who knows what they're doing, who can adapt to his, players that he's inherited. And then over time, you build a squad, you buy players to, play into your system that you want. I think it is that simple. That's literally all it is.
I think the big thing, looking back on characteristics and stuff, is I think there's been a lot of issues at Everton Football Club in the past couple of seasons where, the manager hasn't bought into the club. I don't think the fans have bought into the manager because they don't know what he wants to do. I certainly think with Ronald Koeman, there was a lot of suggestions from pretty much the day one was that he was using the club as a stepping stone. He had his eyes on bigger, better jobs.
I mean, we had to offer him about 3 or 4 times before he came.
He had his eye on, Barcelona. Is one that still gets mentioned now, and if recent reports are to be believed, isn't far off from potentially happening in the summer. So, but then even Allardyce, I think everyone knew was just the fans knew was a stopgap, so never really bought into what he wants to do. I think the thing with Silva was that no one really knew his ideology in terms of how he wants to set the team up. Quite often he talk about 4-3-3, but then we very rarely ever see 4-3-3 on a Saturday afternoon. I look back at the Norwich game, and he said afterwards that it was a team that lacked pace and energy. Well, yeah, but you picked that team, Marco. You had two of your 3 fastest players on the bench. So you can't sit there and say. So I think that's where Everton fans have kind of, I think, fell out of love with the manager, or never been able to love the manager because they've never really understood what they're trying to do. Because that's the big thing in football. You've got to have a clear sort of a pathway and a clear sort of philosophy on what you want to do, and what you think is the right way to do it. And we've seen with Everton over the last couple of years that the philosophies that the club have gone for in terms of the managers is just completely left wing time and time again. And then managers have struggled to implement them, then got moving forward. So I think, characteristics and stuff, it's great talking about philosophies of play, but right now we just need someone who can come in, lay solid foundations, get results and get us up the table as fast as we can, because even though I alluded to it earlier myself, it's great that we won on Saturday, it's great that we're looking at a healthy position, but you lose 2 games, you're back down in where you was 2 weeks ago. So it's now all about doing something that we haven't done, is continue to put back-to-back points on the board all season, and whoever comes in needs to be able to do that. And I think right now you'd take anyone who'd be able to offer you that, if we're being honest.
Absolutely. Next question from Dave Robson is a Christmas themed question. What's the best Everton themed Christmas present you've ever received?
I don't know what would be the best. I mean, obviously over the years I've probably received most Everton themed Christmas, from the mugs, glasses.
I think mine's probably the history of Everton.
Pyjamas, DVDs, books, even going back to my younger days, the calendars and the annuals. I've kind of had them all, but I'd struggle to say what is the best Everton themed. The best Everton themed present I ever got, not Christmas, but it was a birthday present, was from my uncle, and he got me a signed Wayne Rooney when Wayne Rooney was in his prime of his Everton career, and he just started out. He got me a signed Wayne Rooney shirt for my birthday. Yeah, so that's non-Christmas related, but that is the best Everton themed present I've received.
What memories?
Just unfortunately, 18 months later, he was no longer. He'd been sold off.
He was
leaving a young whippersnapper, which I was at the time.
Did you burn that shirt then?
No, I didn't. I kept it still in the fray. I've still got it now. That's that. Don't turn on my own. Don't turn on your own.
Well, I've asked my brother for the Howard's Way.
All right, have you not seen it yet?
I haven't seen it yet. I've been waiting like a bit of time off over Christmas, hopefully. So,
waiting for a treat. Let me tell you,
yeah,
for a treat.
Spend an hour or two watching that, and hopefully, relive the glory days and see what can go on to the into the future. Okay, next question from Michael Sullivan.
Are we going to employ more ball boys for home games with Duncan in charge?
Might have to, mightn't we? Scoring goals like that against the top teams. Well, there's going to be a queue of ball boys wanting to get on that.
I don't think there'll be just a queue of ball boys. I think there'll be a queue of grown men who would mind the position and embrace off big dunk when we get a goal. I think.
No, it was great, wasn't it? It was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it was just. I mean, I don't know if people have probably seen it. The video of, I think, in the family enclosure of him, the raw video of him running down the touchline, and he's fist pumping and he grabs the ball boy and stuff and gives you the ball boy a high five on his way back, and it was just great. And I loved this line as well in his press conference where he said, if the linesman was there, I probably would have given him a hug as well, because he just meant so much to him, didn't it? I think it meant so much to the fans, that because so often you see these kind of type of incidents. Don't get me wrong, it could still go wrong on Sunday at Man United. We could get beat, but I don't think no one can take Saturday away from Ferguson or the fans. It was just fantastic, when you. I mean, I must admit I was a little bit sceptical when he'd done the kind of introduction before the game, and I thought it was a little bit cheesy and certainly a bit premature, because no one really knew what was going to be ahead of us.
Yeah.
But it seems to work a treat, and it got everyone up and firing, and then just the whole day wasn't the early goal from a cross, which
Duncan Ferguson-esque,
and then our number 9 gets a brace at the Howard Kendall Gladys Street end.
Yeah.
It's just and obviously Duncan had his watch on and Kendall's watch on and stuff like that. It was just fantastic. But the ball boy image is probably the one, because you think that young lad is probably going to take that home, that memory for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
So, and that's what we haven't had too many moments like that, have we, for being honest. And even Marco, I'm not being too highly critical of Marco. He never really kind of over celebrated goals. He never,
Was you like the arm wave fist pump?
It was the fist pump, wasn't it? But it was, it was all kind of very muted and very static. And I think just to see, a lunatic, because we do look probably at times at envy at Mr. Jurgen Klopp over the park and the way he acts. And I know Everton fans have been quick to to mock Klopp, but there probably is times where you think sometimes we had someone like that in the dugout, and on Saturday I felt like we had our very own version like that in the dugout, and
it was fantastic.
I don't think forget more ball boys. I think there'll be grown men queuing up to get a
Well, I've already put my name down, to be fair. Gotta wait till next season now, though.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Thanks for the question, Michael.
Barry McCracken asks next, do we think we need to get the manager position filled quickly in order to utilise the January transfer window, or will that happen with Marcel Brands taking the lead anyway?
I think January's a strange one now. The fact that we've sacked Silva, I'm sure there would have been some sort of plan in place to bring 1 or 2 players in, whether that was a loan deal or not, who knows. But we believe Ferguson's going to be in charge, don't we, for Saturday? So
Sunday.
Sorry, Sunday. So that the immediacy that's sorted. We've still got so many games to go until January turns around. So that is the focus, complete one-order focus, isn't it?
Well, you look, but you look, after Sunday, we got Leicester in the Carabao Cup at home next week, Goodison, which is a massive game, because it's the cup, it's a chance to get silverware. So you do think then, probably now he's probably going to get that one as well. You would imagine, because you think about it, they play Sunday with him in charge, unless they appoint a new man pretty much Sunday night, first thing Monday morning. You imagine he's probably going to get that game himself, because you bring in a new manager, then all of a sudden and saying to him, you've got basically maybe 1 or 2 training sessions, 3 training sessions before a huge game at Goodison. Whereas, I think, regardless of how Sunday goes, if Dunk's still in charge for the Leicester Cup game, you guarantee Goodison's going to be rocking under the lights.
I think the club are happy to give him Sunday as well as Leicester. They're just biding the time, because they know how well we played on Saturday against Chelsea. Now I know we weren't like Barcelona style, but we matched Chelsea and obviously dominated the goals.
Well, I think as well, we showed a style and a way of creating, certain bit of pride, passion, and
just
fight.
What's been missing, isn't it?
What's been missing for so long. So I think regardless of what happens, Sunday United, Wednesday when I'm in charge for the cup game, Goodison rocking, and I think as well, the fans will be right up for it. If he's in charge, the fans are going to be right up for it, knowing if Leicester get on top early doors, no one's going to start groaning or moaning because Ferguson's in charge and he'll be on the sideline. So realistically now, you kind of thinking he might get till Christmas, realistically, because like you say, the games are coming thick and fast. The January transfer window it's always a bit of a bluffed one, I think, the January transfer window, because you never really see any big moves, do you? I think a couple of players have moved in the past, but most clubs kind of say, well, it's too hard because if you want to buy players, you've got to pay over the odds. Or a lot of players are settled to clubs and they say, well, I'm going to hold fire and maybe look at the summer. So whilst we do need, the squad does need strengthening, there's no doubt about that. I wouldn't be surprised to see us maybe not be as active as what people hope.
No, I don't think we will be either. I think we'll look to bring back players who are injured as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
Obviously, we've got so many players out injured. Like cliche, isn't it? They'll almost be like new signings, won't be?
Well, we haven't seen, Caban kick a ball, have we? Exactly. Competitively, Delph's been...
January's probably too early for Gomez, isn't it? But I think the likes of Gabaman, Delph, one or two others as well.
Bernard's now back in the fold, isn't he?
I thought he was terrible against Liverpool, to be honest, when he got his chance. But we know the qualities that he possesses, and we know he's a good player. So he will, if staying fit, will hopefully play a part. I completely agree. I think January, Everton fans who think we're going to go and be active need to reassess and realise that we probably won't, unless everything just goes completely dire, unless we lose every single game now up until January. I think then we might reassess, but obviously that would then come down to who comes in as manager as well. Next question from Anthony Michael Knowles. Not really a question, just more of a statement, but I'll gauge your opinion on this, Connor. Please do not pick Unai Emery. Are you a fan?
He probably wouldn't be top of my list, if I'm being honest. I think you look at a lot of the stuff that was wrote about his Arsenal tenure and the problems he endured there. I don't think he has been linked with the job in the past, hasn't he? Before he got the Arsenal job, he was linked with Everton. So you can see why they maybe exploded. But I think it's quite telling that, and this is just my personal opinion, I think it's quite telling that the club spoke to him, or supposedly spoke to him last week, and we're no further down the line, or there's nothing changed since then. I think if the club were interested in him, we would have pursued it a lot more now. And I think even himself, there's reports that he's kind of wants to take a break and develop his English and kind of take stock of where he is. So yeah, he wouldn't be certainly not my first choice, and I'd be surprised now if he is given the job anytime soon.
He definitely wouldn't be my first choice, but I don't think he's a bad manager. I think obviously his time at Arsenal, he's been tainted. It hasn't been a success, and he's obviously recently been sacked. But he was touted as one of the best managers in the world under his time at Seville. Won Europa Leagues,
3 back-to-back, wasn't it?
3 back-to-back. You in the Spanish league, unless you are managing Real Madrid or Barcelona or Atletico Madrid, it's very rare that you go on to win the league. I know it has happened in the past under like Deportivo a long time ago and Valencia and stuff like that. But that's usually when the likes of Barcelona and Real Madrid are just not performing well. And even now, Real Madrid aren't performing well, but they're still up there. Barcelona, they've got Lionel Messi. They're always going to be in with the show for the league. So, he usually finished 3rd or 4th, didn't he? In the Spanish league, and like you said, he's won umpteen Europa Leagues, and then went on to manage PSG and won the league there as well. If that's right, I'm sure he did win the league. So he's not a bad manager. He's clearly not a bad manager. Whether he would come in and fix our defence if he was to come in, leaking goals and stuff like that, I don't think so. But I don't think he's a bad manager. Absolutely not.
The next question from Ian Ferguson ties into a comment that made directly after the question was posted online from Carl Bloxman. Ian asks, if Big Dunk is still in charge of the Boxing Day game against Burnley, I think the game will be a bore fest with 2 teams set on defending, to which Carl instantly replied, Ian Ferguson, mate, never boring with Chris was up front.
Well, we can never go without doing an agenda podcast without mentioning Burnley's striking sensation, Chris Wood, can we? So Chris Wood has made another appearance. We're actually going to have to get Chris Wood on this podcast, or we're going to have to get Carl on this podcast, because can't go a podcast, an agenda podcast, without mentioning Chris Wood.
I think in terms of the initial question, though, about the Ballfest, we can't answer that because we don't know who's going to be in charge. Box they do. We don't know. We can't.
I think it's harsh to say Ballfest though, because I don't think the Chelsea game was a Ballfest whatsoever.
We look good on the counter.
It's the most exciting match I've been to probably since the West Ham game, but even that was just kind of routine because we dominated, we played well. Exciting wise, it was nervous. It was like, although by 3-1 you thought you knew we were probably going to win the game. You don't want to concede goals, don't get me wrong, but it was exciting. We haven't felt that in a long time, and it wasn't. We didn't just concede and then just think, I'll let our heads drop. We bounced back straight away and scored a goal. That's what it's meant to be. That's what Everton's meant to be about. So, I mean, if Ian's saying that, indicating that he thought it was a Ballfest, I don't agree with that whatsoever. It was the most entertaining match I've been to in a long time at Goodison. But who knows what it's going to be like against Burnley, especially with Chris Wood up front. And Carl has actually got a question for us, so I will read it out for you. We looked great last season, beating the top 6 teams under Silva. Then we lost 3 key people. Who was the biggest loss? João Pedro Sousa, Silva's assistant manager, Idrissa Gana Gueye, and Kurt Zouma. They're the 3 that he believes.
Well, I don't think we can really. I'm in no position to talk about Sousa and his role at the club and what he's done, because I don't know enough, if I'm being honest, what he'd done at the club. I don't think any of us really do we? It was no. I don't think any of us know how involved he was. All you can say is he's obviously had much success by himself. So one imagines he does know his stuff and he is intelligent. He's obviously gone to Portugal. And he's doing really, really well. Kurt Zouma, I think, I understand why he's on that list, and he was fantastic, and we probably have at times missed him. But for me, the one who we do miss is Idrissa Gana Gueye. Mm-hmm. I think you look at times against Leicester, Liverpool, where there's just that big hole in between the back 4 and the midfield, and teams have been profiting from it all season. And that's where he was so often. That was where he was. That was his position. He was there. You think of one of the Derby goals. I think was it the 4th where they break from the corner, and you're crying out for someone to take the line. I think it was out on the halfway line, just stop him dead. We try and stand him up, and before you know it, the ball's in the back of the net. Idrissa Gana Gueye in that circumstance just takes him out and takes a booking, And I think we missed that kind of that approach play and that almost tactical foul knowledge, not knowledge, but tactical cleverness. You look at Fabinho at Liverpool, Fernandinho at Manchester City. All the best teams in world football have someone who plays that role in the middle of the pitch, who sits in front of the back 4. If they're in trouble, they think, I'll just take one for the team here. And we haven't had that this year without Idrissa Gana Gueye. So for me, I think the big one who we miss most is Idrissa Gana Gueye. Because I actually think on the whole, Mason Holgate and Zoom, Mason Holgate and Yeremine have done well as a pair. I know Michael Keane's had his problems again this season, but I think the games they've played, they've done well. Mm-hmm. I think, the derby on Wednesday night, we were just ski-whiffed because we played 5 at the back, and people, the back, it was just all over the place, wasn't it? And people went tracking runners from midfield, and the back 3 were getting overloaded. And so I think Zouma has been a miss, but nowhere near the miss Idrissa Gana Gueye's been. I think the midfield's just a gaping hole without him. The hole he filled is now gaping.
It has been a massive hole. I mean, did try to fill it, I suppose, with the signing of Gabon.
Yeah, you can't knock the club because they did.
Even if you don't think
Delph, was another one who can play that role. It is just unfortunate we've been injured, but
3 really played, like Gomez included. I
think the impact he had over his time with the club is one that you can't certainly underestimate, and he's been a massive miss.
Absolutely.
So a final question from Martin Jameson, who asks, should the EFC board have unleashed Ferguson onto the touchline at Anfield rather than with the Chelsea game? His tactics was a won the derby, in my opinion.
It's a really good question, this. And
it's a bold claim as well.
No, it is, and a lot of people have said we basically threw the derby, so why wasn't Ferguson in charge?
I disagree. But I'll tell you in a minute why I disagree.
I mean, I think it just comes down to timing and circumstance. Sometimes in football, we were basically playing the top two teams in the Premier League in Leicester and Liverpool back to back. We played decent against Leicester. You know, Silva tried to get the most out of the place, didn't work out. And the Wednesday Merseyside derby was just an embarrassment. You know, Silva got his tactics completely wrong. But would we have won that game if Ferguson was in charge? I'm going to say I don't think so.
Yeah, I agree.
Even despite employing different tactics, even if we didn't have the high line, the stupidity of the high line that we played, conceding 3 goals, I still don't think we would have won that game. Liverpool probably still would have found a way. But that's just my opinion. It's impossible to say, isn't it? Because you don't know. But,
no, I agree.
But just all I know is that, looking back in hindsight, Ferguson being in charge against Chelsea at home was probably the perfect decision. And
I think as well, if you look at the Leicester game, it probably would have been harsh to sack Marco Silva after that because, for large periods, we've been fantastic. We had a game plan, it was working to a T. We had one lapse in concentration and Leicester punished us with Vardy. And then, we give the ball away stupidly, but then we're undone by VAR, and I know the correct call was made and that's what VAR's there to do and that's fantastic. But if that game's last season, we draw 1-1 because the linesman's flag goes up, the referee probably gives offside. Mm-hmm. And, we go away with a point that no one thought we were going to get. So, I think even at Derby, there's no... Silva got his stats wrong stuff, but you think to yourself, Moise Keane goes clean through, 4 minutes to go, should score. If he scores that, with 4 minutes to go, 4-3, it's game on. It's... Do they start panicking? Do they start, do we just throw caution to the winds and go for it? And all of a sudden, you get beat 4-3. It looks a lot very, it looks credible. As it turned out, Moise Keane drags his shot wide, and they go right up to the end and make a 5-2, and it looked a total hammering. So, I think the fine margins cost Silva in that game because he went with the derby, because he went with the same team that had done so well at Leicester. It backfired, and again, the big chances. It was fine margins in the end, not cost him his job effectively. You know what I mean? So, I think it's a little bit too strong to say we would have won the derby with Ferguson's 4-4-2, because you could say, well, they would have overrun us in midfield because we've only got 2 against their 3. So we don't know, but I agree with you. I think the perfect time was Chelsea, put them up, get the crowd back on side, and
I mean, Moshiri wanted to give Silva as much time as possible. Every chance to succeed. So 5-2 defeat in the Merseyside derby away to Liverpool. You've lost against Leicester previously as well. You're in the relegation zone.
It was 8 defeats in 11 league games, wasn't it, Tom?
So I don't think you could have any complaints that Silva got sacked. I agree with you what you said. It may have been a little bit harsh to sack him after the Leicester game because we did play well, despite the VAR decisions being the correct ones. You could suggest that it was slightly unlucky. But 5-2 against Liverpool, like you just said there, within the game, Keane could have scored, but we
were still beating 5-2.
We were still beating 5-2 at the end of the day, and we ended up in the relegation zone. It didn't at the time. It didn't look great. So he was sacked rightly, and Ferguson. It's history, isn't it? Ferguson took charge, and hopefully it won't be the only memory I have of Ferguson running along the touchline. But if it is, then it'll stay in the memory for a long time. I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it now. But honestly, it was fantastic. And who knows what's going to happen in the future? Whether it's Ferguson's time now or Ferguson's time in a couple of years, I think at some stage he will be the permanent Everton manager, and we'll just
end it there.
Yeah, we'll end it there, and we'll see what happens. So thanks for listening to the Agenda podcast. All your questions hopefully have been answered, and we will be back with plenty more podcasts on the Royal Blue, Acast, and iTunes channel.
The Royal Blue podcast from the Liverpool Echo.